Hello, it's Nikki. Welcome back. Today may be a lengthy one and it will definitely be an honest one. This is going to be much more of a workshop style vlog, podcast, etc. Because I want to take you behind the scenes and I want to share some things that I believe may be useful because they've been useful for me over this last, I would say 2 years. Let's say 2 years. And I know that we've had, the world turned upside down and all of these sorts of things, but I'm in a very reflective mode. Maybe it's my age, maybe it's a change of circumstances, maybe it's moving house, maybe it's all of the above. But I wanted to take you behind the scenes today of some very exciting changes that I am making to my business model. And I'm sharing them here for lots of different reasons. Of course, there is the sense of sharing, and I've always done that on the podcast. I've always wanted to, as Pharrell Williams says, send the elevator down. I think that's really important. I think we have to support each other. So if I know something and I can help you in some way, I'm always going to do it. I'm not just going to keep that information for myself. The second thing is it keeps me accountable. And the third thing is it may give you some permission to actually do what you want to do. And sometimes we need that permission because we are programmed, consciously or not, to think that we should do all of these things. We should do this, or maybe because I've been in business for this long, or I'm in this stage of my life, maybe this is what it would look like. And the thing is, my work for the last 10 years as a coach has never been about shoulds. When I'm with a client, it's always designed for them. It's always with their wish list in mind. I have no agenda. I'm not coming to the table with like a checklist and saying, right, okay, you've got to be doing X, Y, and Z. It's always about them. Likewise, I'm going to yoga very shortly. Yoga is whatever it is that you need from that practice. And I often think about this when teachers say, if you're feeling a bit tired today, and especially because it's a hot room as well, you can just lie down. It's still yoga. And I don't tend to do that necessarily, but I definitely lie down before the end. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so there are some changes in my business model that I'm going to share with you, and I'll share a little bit more at the end what that looks and feels like. But I wanted to share this process and this journey that I have been on over the last couple of years of really working out my life's purpose. Yeah, just something small. My life's purpose, what I'm here to do, what makes me happy, who the heck am I, what is this next decade about, all of the things. What happened in the pandemic was I was so busy and I just had a baby as well. And I had some of my most successful years in business. And then I got to last year and we moved house, and that was a really long process. And I think I was just quite tired. And when I get tired, I just kind of tick along until there's no space to tick along anymore. I need to stop and reflect and really consider where I want to go next. Certainly turning 40 was that for me. Certainly my daughter going to school in September and therefore entering a new part of my life, a new chapter, a new phase has come into this. But I want to give you some pointers today to think about. And the first is the exercise that I do so often with clients, because there's nothing that will rival it. It's so good. It's so simple. And I got a big piece of paper and I wrote down 4 columns. And I wrote down, what do I want to be? What do I want to do? What do I want to have? And what do I want to feel? And I allowed that pen to write. No edits. No, oh, I'm not sure. I don't know how I'd quite do that. I allowed myself to scribble, scribble, scribble. And that was really, really important because immediately I connected to my life first before my business. And this is something that comes up for clients all of the time where they might say, I want to make 10K months, or I want to have a freedom-based business, or I want to feel great every day. Brilliant. But let's start with your life first, because business can come and go and change. But if you start with your life, as in, what are the things that you need to consider? What are the pillars of your life first? How do you want to feel? What do you want to have? What is your idea of a great life? Your version of success? That was so useful for me, because what that did was it gave me more questions. And it also gave me a 360 analysis of what was going on. And there were some things on that list that I was not actioning in my life at all. In fact, I was doing the opposite. So I was saying things like, I want to have a freedom-based business, but then I was turning things down because I was too busy with my work and I was stuck at my computer. And there were some conflicts in there. And I wouldn't have recognized that necessarily had I not done that exercise. It also gave me some ideas around measures of success. And I'm just going to throw in some categories here for you. So some of the things that I wrote down was, how do I feel energetically? How do I feel spiritually? How do I feel mentally? How do I feel physically? How do I feel financially? How do I feel when I wake up in the morning and I go to sleep at night? How are my relationships doing? How is my work-life balance? What kind of mum am I? What kind of daughter am I? All of these questions started to come up. And it's difficult sometimes because when you ask yourself some big questions, you get some big answers. And sometimes these answers will literally like splat down in front of you and you go, whoa, I was not ready for that. But when you do get the answer, you can't ignore it. It's like a big seagull doing a massive shit on your shoulder. And you're like, right, I'm going to have to deal with this now and clean it up. And it's going to be messy. And there's no time like the present. And actually, the longer that I leave it, now I know that there's this poo on my shoulder, the harder it's going to get. So that's what I did first and foremost. But by doing this exercise, I really got a sense of where I was up to. And then I asked myself, where do I want to be a year from now? So of course I went back to the list of like, I want to be doing this and I want to feeling this and I want to be working with these kind of clients and this is how I want to spend my day. And by working through that process, I then said to myself, and it felt harsh, you're going to have to make some changes then. If you want this in a year's time, you're going to have to make some changes. Because you doing what you're doing right now and continuing in that way, you're not going to get that. And I know there's this thing of like mindset and like, just believe you can do it. I know I've been doing this for way too long. It has to be all of the moving parts aligned and working together. There has to be that cohesion in your life. You can't just power through something. You have to pay attention to it all. Another thing that came up for me was simplicity. And this had been a word that I had perhaps shied away from in other areas of my life, because when things were, and this is just my own association, when things were simple, I just kind of thought they were a bit boring. That's me truly being honest there. If things were a bit standardized, I would always be like, right, I'm not bored, but I like it when things are mixed up. I like that, I guess, dopamine hit, you know? I like that sense of running my business where I know when I feel good. When I feel good in that vibrancy, zesty, let's go, that kind of feeling. And so I guess I shied away from this simplicity feeling because I thought maybe I wouldn't access that. However, over the last year, I've been really leaning into more simplicity. And what that's meant is the fact that certain things are very, very simple in my life, in certain areas. You can't guarantee that, of course, because we're human beings living the human experience, and sometimes life throws complicated things at you. But where I can, if I can have simplicity in my life, what it's actually done is opened up space for other things. And so when I kept going back to my list of like, what do I want to be, do, have, and feel, I realized that I needed to simplify some of the other things, strip it back a little bit so it had a bit of wiggle space within that. I also realized that I probably wasn't the only one feeling that need for simplicity. So that's when I started to open up a conversation with myself about what am I selling and how am I doing this? Am I overcomplicating it? And of course, the answer is always yes, because naturally we are givers. We want to deliver excellence. And sometimes what that means is that we overload. We overload with information, with resources, with energy, because we want to do the right thing. And actually, when things are overloaded, it doesn't necessarily mean they're better. So imagine you go to an all-you-can-eat buffet. And the first go, you might be like, oh, there's so many different things. I'm going to try that. That feels really good. And then you might think, well, I'll go back a second time because I may as well. It's all-you-can-eat buffet. And then you might think, I don't know if I needed that third, whatever it was. Or, wow, that feels like quite a big combination of different foods in my body. Okay, maybe oh gosh, that was, is this really enjoyable anymore? Oh, I wish can I just go back a stage? And I was feeling like that a little bit with my business and with the conversations that I was having with clients. Our world has felt very overloaded and we've been very overstimulated for a long, long time. And so I kept coming back to thinking, how can I simplify things? Not only from my own delivery point of view, but also from how my clients receive and what they get. And to make that decision of, I'm going to say yes because I want that thing, way, way easier. Because my other feeling on this is that I don't want to be on the phone all day selling things to people who are not sure. That is not a great use of my time. I am not somebody who's gonna, I was even saying it to Matt earlier, like I had this awful LinkedIn, hey, if you do like have a meeting with me and I'll buy you pizza, if I try and sell you things, I can't remember what it was, if I try and sell you something, you have my full permission that I will buy you pizza every day for the rest of the year. Like it was all a bit odd. And what I just discovered in that was the joy, and I allowed myself to sit in that space of as well of what would happen if this could be simplified. The next thing I went through was, how can I be really useful? Because again, you will be the same, I'm sure. You want to do a great job, and you don't want to just do a great job. You want to do a fantastic job where you both get that energy at the end of the meeting, like, oh, that was so good. Yes, we're going to do this. When you feel fired up. And there are certain things, many areas, in fact, where I would not be very useful. I would be low energy. I would be a beginner. I would be overwhelmed. I would be like, that was hard going. So what I decided to do was really go back to my skill set and think, what am I really good at? How could I be really, really useful? So people get value for money. So people go, that was game changing. When I did that thing with Nikki Roby, it was great. I went back to that. How can I be really useful? And where can I excel? The next thing I looked at was, how can I do this? And there's many different ways you can explore this. You can look at your skill set, you can look at your experience, you can look at your story, you can look at your connection with your clients, your organization skills, whatever it is. And one of the things that I felt that I was missing was, because I trained as a traditional coach, sometimes I found that I was not being either. I was either being a strategist, and I was doing a lot of that work as an agent, or I was either being a straight up coach where you're not allowed to give advice. I mean, that's the kind of ethics of coaching. You're there to listen, you're there to be a sounding board, you're there to allow the client to discover the answers themselves. But when I went back to, how can I be really useful? And the people I'm working with, so I'm working with founders and speakers and trailblazers and chefs and photographers and pop stars and raconteurs and people who want to have a portfolio career, all of those things. When I thought about how I could be useful, the best way I can be useful in this is to bring all parts of myself. So yes, do the traditional coaching, help people with their mindset, really dig into their confidence around visibility or whatever it might be. But also, if somebody then in the week of support afterwards needs to know how they can sell themselves and send a cracking email that's going to get a response and get them the money that they really want for the thing, I also want to be there and hands-on, because nobody's there to share that information. I also then, I know there's a lot of points. I also, after I've done that, how can I be really useful? How can I do that? I then reconnected to my why. And my why is, of course, to help people. But I always come back to this phrase that I want to work with people where they get to a stage where they knock their own socks off, because that's how I want to feel. I love those moments in my own portfolio career where I go, wow, did I just do that? Who knew? Who knew that was in the stars? But that felt so good. I want to work with people who are seeking that, I'm going to have a go, see what happens. And I also know what it takes, because I do it all of the time as my own personal brand. I know all of the different pieces that it takes in order to do the thing. And so what I really want to move into is more of and our skill sets are very, very different here, but I hope you'll bear with me. More of almost like a structural engineer or a project manager. And what I mean by this is, when you do work in your house, you don't necessarily, like if you have an electrician, for example, that comes to your house and they are rewiring a light or something, clearly not my skill set, they're doing something with a light. If they also have other specialisms, as in they've worked with houses like yours and they know about the old-fashioned wiring systems. For example, when we moved into this house, we had to get it completely rewired. And we did that, but it was interesting when the person who did it was like, oh yeah, I've seen this before. I did something similar on a house down the road. I wonder if it was done at the same time, etc. And that was such value for money in terms of that electrician, because he knew all of those other things. So like a structural engineer or like a project manager, being able to foresee all of the different things. So rather than just do one thing almost blindly, I want to be able to give that wiggle room, to give that 360-degree version so I can really help people in a more significant way. Next, I really, really am committed to having an evergreen business. And this has been something that I've shied away from because of what the industry told me. The industry said, like, launch, open the cart, close the cart, get people in, etc., etc. And my belief is you can only do that if you just do one thing, or you have a huge team, you have endless resources. And the way that I've struggled with this big launch model is because I don't have an enormous team, and I don't want to have an enormous team. And Matt has worked away a lot this year, and that has meant if something happens with one of the children, or if there's a logistical thing, it lands on me. And that is absolutely fine. I am their mother and I am committed to doing that. But in terms of being able to move and navigate so many different parts, I actually want an evergreen business, because that allows me to do, when I go back to my be, do, have and feel list, that allows me to have all of the other bits in place. And so through this process, it's really given me a sense of, no, you're right. You want what you want. Pay attention to that. You're getting the answers that you want. You want to have an evergreen business because it suits your lifestyle. And as soon as you go back to the life thing, like I did in the first point, everything starts to become easier, because you have to get your life in place first, not the other way around. Again, I don't want to have a huge team. So I have people that will help me on a sort of freelance basis. And I've always welcomed and paid for support in terms of, well, all areas of my business and my life. But my desire is not to manage people. I don't want to manage people. I have 2 little people that rely on me. I'm not even going to say that I manage Matt, because I don't. He's an adult. But, you know, there are different roles in families, and certainly some of them involve me taking a lead in our family. Some of them involve Matt taking a lead. But the things that I'm taking a lead on, I need to be able to manage them. And sometimes that is more than enough. And so when I came back to how I wanted to operate, and I guess when I fast forwarded maybe a year from now, or looked at other people in my industry and looked at their business models, I very quickly understood that that endpoint for them, or where they are right now, is not necessarily what I'm building, and it's not what I want. And as soon as I did that, I then, of course, went back to, so what does this practically mean? What does that mean that I therefore offer if I'm not going to scale in that way? So that meant, and you will have seen from my new website and things like that, that meant that I had to invest in technology. So spending more money on technology than I'd spent before, more complicated things, more things that I had to, not complicated, but, you know, I had to really understand what those flows were, what the back end of the stuff was going to be. And it feels really good. It feels really good to recognize that in myself and to be okay with it. There is so many sort of buzzwords in any industry, but especially in the self-development, it's all about scale and team and outsource and all of that. And actually, I have no desire to oversee all of those things each and every day. So, yeah, I've invested in some technology. It's great. It's working for me. I'll leave the links down below. I'm an affiliate if you want to check it out. But that was really powerful. 2 more things. So my portfolio career. I am so committed to having a portfolio career, like more than ever before. I love having a varied and interesting and creative week. And I am so lucky that I have found different things that I want to grow and change, etc. And so I want to continue and really go all in on earning money from acting, coaching, writing, speaking, podcasting. And so therefore, if I'm going to continue this garden of different things that have different needs, it then makes, again, it came back to my offerings. So therefore, sorry, there's a lot of traffic outside. So therefore, how am I going to set myself up that work? So I work with my goals, not against them. I work with my circumstances and rather than fighting them. And I work with my personality, how I work best. And that led me on to these new versions of strategy sessions that I'm launching. More in a minute. Finally, how do I want to spend my time? How do I want to spend my time? How do you want to spend your time? And yes, there are things in business and in life that you just have to do. You have to do because it is part of adulting and it just needs to get done. And quite frankly, the more you fight it, the more you go on about it, the harder it's going to get. So if you can just crack on, it's all going to be good. I do those things in my business, but also there are other things that I just thought I am spending way too much time on that certain thing. So how can I do that differently? How can I think about it in a different way? How can I set myself up for success? So that's when I went back to how can I be really useful? How can I be obvious? How can I be really simplistic? So firstly, in that big chunk of information that I've just thrown at you, I hope that is useful. I hope it's giving you some pointers and some exercises. And now I really want to share with you some new offerings that I've been working on that are now available for you to buy. Based on being useful, based on that 360 version, based on a really great, beautiful result, and creating an impact. My feeling always with my work is that I want you to get information, tools, clarity, results that are not just going to be from the experience and contained in that, but that these things are going to go on and create that ripple effect for many years to come. Whether that's financially, whether that's energetically, whether that's business-wise, life-wise, and create really great positive impact. So my offerings, I guess, are as follows. I haven't asked me anything because I will never not have that, because there are some people who go, Nikki, what technology do you use? Nikki, can you share your screen? Nikki, can I just ask you about something? Can I? Brilliant. It's a 45-minute session. That will stay the same. Then I have strategy sessions, and I have labeled them very, very clearly so you can get what you need in this strategy session. Firstly, let me tell you like the kind of the vibe bit. So each strategy session has pre-work. So you get the pre-work and then I do my own pre-work. So whichever one of the strategy sessions you're going for, you go and do the pre-work and then you send it back to me in advance of our session. I then can do my own work and pull together my own thoughts and ideas and really get to know you and get to know your business before we meet. So when we do meet, whether that's on Zoom or in person, you already feel like, oh, she knows me. I don't have to repeat myself. I don't have to spend my whole of this time telling the story. It's already cemented. Nikki's already done her work, so we both know where we are. So all the strategy sessions start with pre-work for you and for me too. We then have our one-to-one session, which is an hour long, where we can really get into the coaching, the planning, the mapping out, the clarity, right, this is what's happening, this is making it real, making it happen, etc. After that, so you don't get the self-development hangover where, and I've had it myself, I'll have a great coaching session. I will have a book full, oh, that lighting's nice, a book full of notes. And then the next day I'll wake up and go, bloody hell, how am I going to do that? I don't know, can I do this, etc. There's no self-development hangover here. You are going to be supported every step of the way. So after our session together, you have 7 days of unlimited back and forth accountability. Can I send you this? What do you reckon to this? I put together the sales page. Does that make sense, etc. So you actually do the thing. You also have the accompanying course. So for example, the money one, I have a whole course about pricing and packaging, and you can work through that. And that is yours to keep as well. So you can go back, you can do that every quarter, every month if you want, and really check in with where you are. That is the sort of the standard package. And then if you think, well, I want more time, you can upgrade it and have more kind of support. So you can go up to a month where you have that email support with me. So what are the strategy sessions called? The first one, all about the money. I would love to think that we can just live in this world of like dreaming big and doing what we love, but we also have to make money. And this is one of the hardest things for my clients, working out what to charge, how to have different multiple streams, how not to get burnt out, what do you give out for free? Do you do a discovery call? Who am I talking to? My ideal clients, sales pages, etc. How do I deliver it? So all about the money is a really strong strategy session where we look at your money goals, where you're going, what's working, what you like doing, how you like doing it, and really tailor it towards that. There's another one called all about your website, your online presence. I have no desire to be online all the time. I will be very honest. I don't want to vlog my life and always have a phone in my hand. I just don't. But that does mean, because again, if I go back to my money and my business goals, I want to have everyday sales, which therefore means I have to be very strategic with the way that I show up online. But not just when I'm live, whether that's kind of, hi, I'm here doing this right now, but the foundations that I put in place that live online about me, that do the work for me. So if you've been procrastinating about becoming visible, you know you should, you know you're hiding, you know you need to bring things to life. Maybe you did your website a while ago and you're like, it still doesn't feel like me, it's a bit cringe. We will go into all of that. And when you have that support afterwards, that will be exactly the perfect complement to it, because you will actually go and do the thing. We won't just talk about the website, you'll get your online presence up and running and get things moving and get my eyes on your business as well. The two other ones, all about your next chapter. Sometimes there are moments in life where you think, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm stuck, I need help, I need clarity, I need a vision, I need to reconnect, I need a purpose, etc. This is all about your goal setting and really looking at that life and business combination. So a little bit more about what we've covered today. That is all about the next chapter and really identifying what you need and what you want based on your personality, your circumstances, your goals, etc. And the other one is my signature course, which is all about speaking up. So I launched Speak Up in October 2019 and hundreds of people have gone through it. I absolutely love doing it. If you want to be a speaker, if you want to be more confident on camera, if you want to grow your personal brand, if you want to get paid for speaking, that's going to be perfect for you as well. So those are the strategy sessions. They all have those pieces of them, those phases to them. So I know, and I will feel confident having delivered it, that you go, I know what I'm doing now. I got what I needed. And I think ultimately to go back to where I was before. I want to really step into being much more of a practical support rather than the emotional, almost like more like the counselor stuff. I feel like I want to help you to get going. Because when I go back to my mission of what do I want to help people do, I want to help you knock your own socks off with whether that's money, whether that's career, whether that's you doing life and business on your terms. I want all of that for you. And so with that in mind, I'm going to go into the practical. Yes, of course, there will be some coaching tools in there as well. But ultimately, that's going to be my zone of genius, as it were, the big leap. If you haven't read it, the book is fantastic by Gay Hendricks. That is it for today. If you've watched this and you like, yeah, I want one of those strategy sessions, yes, please. If you want to do this stuff, the All About the Next Chapter is going to be perfect for you. But in terms of the other things, maybe it's money. You want to look at money for the second half of the year. Maybe it's your online presence, like what am I doing? What am I saying? Hope I don't get cancer, all of that stuff. You know, we're very cautious with social media. Maybe it's not paying you anything back. Maybe you're not getting the clients that you want. Let's have a chat. Let's get going. There's a cheeky discount also as part of this launch. You can't get it directly through the website, so you're going to have to email me hello@nikkiraby.com and I will sort that out with you. So yeah, we can make it happen. Thanks for listening. I told you it was going to be a lengthy one, but I hope it's been a useful one. Thank you for all of your support over the last 10 years, because that's what it has been. I'm excited about this next chapter, and I hope you'll join me on this magical mystery ride going forward. Right, I'm going to yoga, and I'll see you next time. Bye.